is Savardis. He's on the move, and they're going to look for Savardis in the corner. Touchdown!
Rowan heading for the touchpad with the lead, and the props will take the men's 400-yard freestyle relay.
Andrews will be in shotgun. He takes the snap, fakes the handoff. He'll throw it down the left sideline. He's got a wide open receiver. He's got the touchdown.
Mowbray moving in. Sends one on goal, and he scores!
And it is a power play goal.
Back to pass, middle of the field. The catch is made by Britt. She's off to the races at the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Britt is in for the score.
Back on in, here's Yoxin. Yoxin to the backhand, trying to go to the front, makes the move and shot, and he scores!
Smith delivers, and that's it back toward the mound. Weiss has it in short. He steps on second, and the ball game is over. Massapequa Coast has won the 2023 New York State Little League Baseball Championship.
Live from Great Kills Little League in Staten Island, New York, the PDF Sports Network welcomes you back into coverage of the 2024 New York State Little League Baseball Championship. In our 11th game of pool play, Massapequa Coast Little League takes on South Shore Little League. Good evening, everybody. Once again, my name is Joe Foreman alongside my broadcast partner, Nicholas Pavona. And Nick, this is a matchup that we have been looking forward to all week, though admittedly it has lost just a bit of its luster as both of these teams have already clinched a spot in the semifinal round, which gets underway tomorrow.
Yeah, and realistically, Joe, for this game, with both teams being 2-0, and as you mentioned, they're already into the semifinals going into tomorrow. But now it comes down to whoever wins this game, obviously, will get Auburn tomorrow. The winner will get Auburn. The loser will get Harrison tomorrow, based off of what we had happen earlier today at South Shore.
And let's talk a bit about the games that were played earlier today. Opening up the day, Penfield Little League took the field against Plattsburgh Little League. Penfield could put themselves in a decent position with a win. The fewer runs they allowed, the better the position they would be in entering that second game. They ultimately won 5-2, but that was not enough.
Yeah, and you go back to what happened in that game for Penfield. And remember what happened in this tournament. That first game, realistically, is what came down to them not being in the semifinals. Giving up that 9 runs in the first 2 innings to Auburn unfortunately hurt them at the end of the day. They did have 2 bounce-back games with the win against Harrison and then obviously the win today against Plattsburgh. But you mentioned that second game that we had at South Shore. Man, you guys got a great one between those 2 teams in Harrison and Auburn. A 1-0 win for Harrison. Lachlan Waits with the game-winning RBI double in the bottom of the 5th inning. But a huge pitching performance as well got them to that point. And now they go to the semifinals, the winner of that bracket region tomorrow, awaiting the loser of this game today.
What a pitcher's duel in Game 2 between Noah Martinez and Cohen Ashby in that matchup between Harrison and Auburn. But going back to the early game, we'll talk a bit about the 2 teams that were eliminated. Plattsburgh on day 1 laid an egg, admittedly. They did not have a good night, did not score, were held to, I believe, 3 hits or maybe even less than that. However, it was not a good night. They deserve a ton of credit for the way they bounced back. Nearly took a win on the second day. They lost in extra innings. That was a tough loss for them against Auburn in a hard-fought game. Penfield, similarly, tough night 1. They were down 9-0 against Harrison. They bounced back as well, and they won back-to-back games. And sometimes that just isn't enough, as Penfield came up just short. Both of those teams so resilient and deserve a lot of credit for their performance.
I think the common theme for this tournament, Joe, has been resiliency from all of these teams. They have been playing really good despite the fact that some of these games haven't gone their way, and when they do go their way, they have fought back and gotten into these wins. Now, we look at the 2 teams going into this game tonight. Obviously, we know that they are both 2-0. The biggest thing for them coming out of this is there's only going to be one 3-0 team at the end of this pool play. So the winner of this will have that luxury of being the lone 3-0 team after round-robin play. But, as I mentioned, the 2 teams they have to face on the other side of the region are certainly no easy threat to get past to get to the final.
And, Nick, in your opinion, just how important is it to go 3-0? Obviously, you would like to win every game, but how much are you willing to tax your pitching staff in order to get there? At what point do you decide it's better to be more discreet with how we use our pitchers and exercise that discretion in terms of pushing pitchers further into a game. Do you think that we are going to see these teams go all out for that 3-0 record in pool play? Or do you think perhaps if one team falls behind, they might ease off a bit?
I think they would ease off a bit because you're going to go right back into it tomorrow. You have 2 games, one at 10 a.m., one at 1 p.m., and you have to think about it. You need to save your stars as much as you possibly can. We've seen that so far throughout the first couple of days in this tournament where some stars get taken out earlier. That way they can preserve their pitch count and get ready for these games this week. Now, going into this game tonight, I think if there is a scenario where it starts to get a little bit lopsided in the run column, then maybe you do see that happening, and we'll save those relievers and starters for tomorrow and for these teams hopefully for Saturday. So it's all strategy at this point. We already know this going into a tournament type of play, but it'll definitely be a strategy-wise game here tonight, determining how this one's going to turn out.
And let's talk about how these two teams got here. They've taken a pretty similar path.
Yeah.
In the first game for Massapequa Coast, convincing win. Didn't really have to sweat that one much as they took the victory over North Shore. As for South Shore, things were a bit more shaky for them in Game 1. They were behind late. They came back against EGC. However, their second game looked a lot like Massapequa Coast's first game against North Shore. They also won 10-3, just as Massapequa Coast did. Meanwhile, Massapequa Coast, like South Shore did, escaped with a 1-run victory over East Greenbush Castleton in their second game. So very, very similar paths to this game for each of these two teams. And despite the fact that both of them have already clinched and all that's on the line is seeding, I'm still really excited to watch these two teams face off.
Well, I mean, these are a matchup of 2 semifinalists from last season as well, so keep that in mind. While the rosters and the coaching staffs have certainly changed, there's still a lot of back history with these two teams. And obviously, for South Shore, yes, I mentioned that there is a new roster, a new team, but they want to get back that loss from last season against Massapequa Coast. And getting that win today would put some bragging rights for them going to 3-0. And that's another thing to also look out for, Joe, because whoever comes out, as I mentioned, will be 3-0, but they will be, maybe to a lot of people's eyes, the tournament favorite for the semifinalists going into the next 2 days. But that also puts the target on your back, being that only lone 3-0 team. So there's a pro and con to being 3-0 after this game.
If I remember correctly, Massapequa Coast was 2-1 last year entering the semifinal.
Yes.
South Shore was the 3-0 team. It was 2-1 Massapequa Coast that ultimately took the win in that game. And we were just talking about 1-run games on the way here for these two teams. The game that they played last year in the semifinals, decided by 1 run. The championship game, decided by 1 run. So with that, we will step aside and take a break during the playing of the national anthem. When we come back, first pitch and starting lineups for South Shore and Massapequa Coast. And we are back from Great Kills Little League. Joe Foreman rejoining you alongside Nick Bavona. And Nick, you have the starting lineups for both teams.
So Massapequa Coast is the away team in this game. We'll get you their lineup first. Leading off is going to be their starting pitcher today, number 99, Ryan Love. Followed by him is the extra hitter, number 9, Charlie Pericelli. Batting third and behind the plate, number 70, Joey LaBella. Batting fourth at first base, number 6, Chase Vitro. Batting fifth in the left field, number 23, Jackson Walsh. Batting sixth, the extra hitter, number 42, Keen Rimler. Batting seventh at third base, number 8, Daniel Moreno. Batting eighth in the center field, number 4, Chase Santoro. Batting ninth in right field, number 15, Ryan Scarry. Batting 10th, the shortstop, number 1, Matthew Francesi. And rounding out the order, number 2, the second baseman, Michael Santopietro.
We will get you the starting lineup on the other side for South Shore during the next half inning as Massapequa Coast gets set to come to the plate for their first turn at bat. On the side of South Shore, taking the mound, Dean Scarangello, starting pitcher. And Nick, I don't believe I've seen him pitch yet, though it is certainly possible that he pitched on Monday. However, my brain goes straight to the games that I covered. We haven't seen him throw yet, so for us, it will be our first look at Scarangello during this week's tournament. And he draws a big assignment against a team that many consider to be the favorite, Massapequa Coast, obviously the defending champion, just escaping on Tuesday night with a win. I think thus far that is still the game of the tournament. We had a great game earlier today, but I think with a bit more scoring in that game on Tuesday between Massapequa Coast and EGC, that one gets the edge.
Well, I think considering what happened in that game as well, there was a lot of dramatics and controversy overall in that one. And then look at how that impacted today's matchups, because if EGC comes out on top with that win, we're looking at two teams going into today 1-1. South Shore, technically, yes, 2-0, but they also technically could have been 1-1 if they had lost on Monday to EGC. So a lot of things could have been changed differently depending on the outcomes of those two EGC games. But unfortunately for them, things just didn't go their way at the end of the day, and they'll unfortunately fall to 0-2 in round-robin play. And these two, meanwhile, are on to the semifinals.
I think on the other side of the pool, things were pretty straightforward. There are a lot of what-ifs that can be discussed on this side, a lot of hypotheticals, so many different ways that these games could have played out given how they ended. First pitch from Scarangello to Ryan Love is taken outside for ball one, and we are underway from Great Kills.
Very nice crowd as well here tonight, Joe, here at Great Kills. Should be a good one between these two semifinalists from last season.
South Shore always draws here on Staten Island, and Massapequa Coast has had a very nice contingent in all of the games that we've covered. Massapequa Coast, one of the teams that I've covered all three games for now. As that's in for a called strike two. The count now 1-2. Scarangello comes set and delivers the 1-2. There's a good breaking ball swung on and missed. They have to complete the putout at first, and they do for the game's first out.
A good job behind the backstop by Peter Giacchio. And, Joe, we talked about him on Tuesday and how he was a big factor in that win for South Shore over North Shore. Had a lot of good framing of some pitches that were, to some, maybe a little bit lower than usual, but he was able to frame the ball perfectly to get some big strikeouts for South Shore in that win.
And we get a much better view of that here tonight. Obviously, at South Shore, we're parked all the way on top of the left field fence. Meanwhile, Charlie Piricelli takes strike one. Now,
go ahead, Joe.
I don't want to make empty promises, but I'm fairly certain I can make it happen tomorrow. Following the games here at Great Kills, I'm going to try and secure a wireless video setup so that we have a center field camera for the championship game. That is contingent on power availability behind the center field wall, but if there is power, we can put a camera out there. That pitch misses outside.
The way of the next coming hours to see if that is possible.
We will know tomorrow afternoon, so tune in and be surprised on Saturday. 2 balls and 1 strike, the count on Piricelli. And he fouls that one off on the half swing.
So I'm curious also with, depending on how the teams use their pitchers today, what the exact pitch count number will be for some of these stars and some of the relievers as you're trying to potentially save them maybe for tomorrow and for Saturday potentially.
And that sliced foul again. I could definitely see a pitcher by committee approach where you try and keep as many pitchers under 20 as possible and get through the game that way. You figure 20 pitches on average gives you about an inning and a half. So that's quite a few pitchers who would get action. I'm not sure if that's what you want. As that's hit sharply on the ground to second, handled cleanly. And Iracy throws to first in time for out number 2.
So good start of the game right now so far for South Shore, as they've been able to get the first 2 outs. Scarangello now 1 out away from a 1-2-3 first inning.
That will bring up Joey Labella.
Joe, we mentioned it. Probably the best weather we've gotten so far also here tonight.
There is no question this is the most comfortable weather we've worked in this week. As Labella takes a strike. He was 2 for 3 on Tuesday night. Had a run batted in as well. Drove home the first run of the game in the first inning. And he's in a 2-strike hole right here.
Quickly behind the count 0-2. Scarangello looking for a strikeout right here. It would be a second of the inning to retire this Massapequa Coast lineup early. 1-2-3.
Pitch number 13 from Scarangello's up high. And the count's 1-2. Comes the 1-2. And that is a called strike 3 on the outside corner. Second strikeout of the inning for Dean Scarangello, and he sets down Massapequa Coast 1-2-3 in the first.
Awards and Trophy Center is proud to sponsor this week's New York State Little League Championship. Located at 1600 Highland Boulevard on Staten Island, we pride ourselves in not only building trophies, but building relationships as we service our community and treat you like family. Your event and its achievements deserve the best. That's why Country Awards and Trophy Center is ready to work with all of our clients to make your event a memorable one, with awards, trophies, and gifts that make a lasting impression. Come see why we love our customers and they love us. Visit us today.
And we are back from Great Kills Little League, where South Shore is about to come to the plate for the first time. And Nick, you have the South Shore starting lineup.
Yes, I do. And South Shore will lead it off with their third baseman, number 22, Vin Ruggiero. Batting second and at first base, number 29, Steven Grippo. Batting third and at short, number 13, Alex Torres. Batting fourth, the right fielder, number 8, Jake Romero. Batting fifth and at center, number 17, Chase Curro. Batting sixth, the extra hitter, number 34, Dylan DeGata. Batting seventh and in left field, number 21, Nicholas McLean. Batting eighth, the pitcher, number 25, Dean Scarangello. Batting ninth and at second, number 2, Joe Irachi. And at catcher, batting 12th, Peter Giacchio. Batting 11th is the extra hitter, number 20, Zach Weiss. And rounding out the order and batting 12th is the extra hitter, number 7, Jason Raccio.
All right, thank you, Nick. Of course, we covered South Shore the other night. They were locked in a battle with North Shore for 3 innings, and then after that, the offense erupted, and they ran away with a convincing 10-3 win.
And that's another similarity between the two teams because that also happened in the Massapequa Coast game. Massapequa Coast was going into that third inning trailing 2-1, and they would take a 5-2 lead after the third inning, and that's where they started to run away with that game.
Vin Ruggiero will lead things off for South Shore, and he looks at ball 1.
Trying to remember, Joe. I think Ruggiero had a home run in yesterday's home run competition.
I think he had more than 1. I think he hit 3.
I think he also did hit 3. I'm going to check my
he
tally
hit 3,
real quick.
which would have put him in the finals.
He did. He had 3 home runs. Charlie Pericelli on Massapequa Coast hit 2, so he also was one of the finalists. Then it would become a teammate battle from the Harrison teammates.
That's it hard down the line. Fair ball. And into the left field corner. Ruggiero heading for second. And he is in standing with a leadoff double.
And a great start to this game for South Shore. They get a leadoff double right there from Ruggiero down that third base line. And early trouble for Massapequa Coast with that runner in scoring position.
Ruggiero got on to lead off the game on Tuesday as well. He would come around to score. On a steal of home.
Yep. And think about the batter now they have at the plate, Stephen Grippo, who has been hugely responsible, Joe.
Oh, that had a chance off the bat, but he got just under it.
That's a big out.
Well, I was thinking about Stephen Grippo, and he was thinking long ball.
Yeah, I was going to mention Grippo, as I was talking about, has been huge for South Shore in this tournament. That big game-winning 2-run double on Monday, a big 3-run homer on Tuesday that gave South Shore the lead, and we saw him in the home run derby as well yesterday.
Grippo made a bid there to the opposite field, got just under it. Flag not billowing in the wind as that's pulled down the line. Fair ball. And South Shore is going to take an early 1-0 lead on an RBI double by Alex Torres.
Hey, Joe, how about Alex Torres also in this tournament? We saw him on Tuesday, had a great relief appearance for South Shore, giving them that win over North Shore. And he gets that RBI double down the left field line to put his team up early 1-0.
How about this start for the home team? A pair of doubles in the first inning, and now Jake Romero will be the batter.
You know what Romero is certainly capable of in the outfield.
Romero among the finalists in the Golden Arm competition yesterday. That was won by Tanner Garino. There's a swing and a miss for strike 2.
So early on, South Shore setting the tone with those 2 extra base hits.
That's fouled away.
Here's a look at that RBI double off the bat of Torres.
That column in the view of our camera is for our covering. Nothing we can do about that with rain on and off earlier in the day. It was raining on my way here for a short time as Romero goes down swinging for the second out.
Good bounce back right there from Ryan Love. Needed a strikeout and he got it with that runner stranded at second and now 2 away in the inning.
That will bring up Chase Currow. A runner in scoring position with 2 away now. And that sails over Currow's head. Want to know the count on the South Shore center fielder. That's fouled off.
Love currently at 12 pitches so far in the inning.
I think that's a 14 on the other side for Scarangello. And that skips to the backstop. Wild pitch. Torres slides into third, and he's in with plenty of time. Runner on third now with 2 outs. The count even at 1 ball and 1 strike. Make it 2-1. That sails up and away for ball 3.
Curl can get on base. They'll bring up Dylan DeGata on deck.
DeGata had 2 hits on Tuesday. There's a swing and a miss for strike 2.
So Love now 1 strike away from back-to-back punch-outs to end this inning and keep it a 1-run score.
And that's off the inside corner for ball 4.
Massapequa Coast was hoping that they would get that strike 3 called, but just a little bit on the inside. So Currow does work a lengthy at bat and gets the walk. As now South Shore has first and third with 2 outs still.
That will bring up Dylan DeGata. Extra hitter for South Shore with runners on the corners now. And you have to think, as the runner heads for second, throw comes to second, and Massapequa Coast will concede the run. How about that? As South Shore continues to wreak havoc on the base paths. We saw that on Tuesday night. This time they manufacture a run. As Currow got into the rundown, that allowed Torres to score. And the home team will lead 2-0 as we are through 1 from Great Kills.
comes to sports, why? Us now.
And we are back from Great Kills Little League, where Massapequa Coast trails by a pair. South Shore, with a 2 spot in the bottom half of the first inning, leads it 2-0. 4, 5, and 6 due up for the visitors here in the second. And Dean Scarangello will return to the mound for South Shore. As that's pulled to third, Ruggiero knocks it down, but that's all he can do, as it's a leadoff single for Chase Vitro.
Vitro goes first pitch swinging on that one, getting that infield hit, as now Massapequa Coast will bring the tying run to the plate.
That will bring up Jackson Walsh.
So once again, Joe, we saw in that previous half inning, South Shore getting a run thanks to their base running. And we saw that as well on Monday. You mentioned earlier that steal of home plate that got them their first run.
That's hit sharply on the ground to short. Chance for 2. And the 6-4-3 double play nearly turned, but Grippo with the stretch, not quite enough. Quick turn, nicely done by the middle infielders, but too much speed for Jackson Walsh, who reaches on the fielder's choice.
Yeah, good job by Walsh. He was hustling down the line to avoid that double play ball right there. That was hit on a line, basically. So 1 out now in the inning.
There's a swing and a miss by Keen Rimler, who's been moved up in the lineup.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier. Rimler has been big for Massapequa Coast in this tournament, Joe. 2 home runs in his first 2 games.
That's hit to Ruggiero. And no chance for 2 there.
We say it so many times. It's not easy to turn double play balls. South Shore's had 2 chances in the inning, but they've just missed it by a couple of seconds.
Last year, we mentioned how tough it was to turn double plays, and then double plays proceeded to be turned at an unprecedented rate.
I know. It was very shocking.
I think we underestimated just how good these middle infielders can be.
Well, we all know all these players are all-stars, so it does make sense.
Right back to Scarangello. And that's a very quick inning for a pitcher who faced 4 batters.
Joe, he just needed 5 pitches to get out of that inning.
A 5-pitch inning for Dean Scarangello. And Massapequa Coast is turned aside in the second. The score remains 2-0.
NYS Industrial is your all-in-one supply and tool store for commercial, industrial, and domestic industries. A leader in HVAC supply stores, K&S provides various building and maintenance supplies for office buildings, industrial plants, schools, homes, and more. We also specialize in getting our customers hard-to-find items. If you're looking for HVAC supply stores that also offer anything else you might need, look no further than K&S Industrial. If they make it, we'll get it. K&S Industrial.
And we are back from Great Kills, where South Shore will come to bat. Now, I think they just announced the wrong batter, Nick. They did. They announced Nicholas McLean into the game, but there was a caught stealing, so Dylan DeGata will come back to the plate.
Correct. Common mistake.
Very easy to forget sometimes. When I'm on public address, typically what I do is I put a slash next to the player I've announced last. Then you realize by the difference in the number of marks where you are. If there's a caught stealing, I put a circle around the slash.
I think for me, I usually look towards the on-deck circle, and I always just look for the number. Because sometimes I will forget what happened that previous half inning, or the last inning, I should say. But I'll just look towards the on-deck circle sometimes, and thankfully I'll be able to see the number sometimes.
You don't always have the luxury of being able to see the on-deck circle from the press box. I think they do here. As that sails up and away.
It's a 4-pitch walk, Joe.
It's a 4-pitch walk.
Yeah, Joe, we've talked about it a lot this tournament. Leadoff walks have been killers for some of these teams, and we're going to have a pitching change, it looks like. And we DER.
New pitcher for Massapequa Coast means a break for us.
Love's going to finish with 21 pitches before we go to break.
So as I anticipated, I think it's going to be pitcher by committee in this one, trying to keep your arms under that 20-pitch mark. We'll step aside and be right back. That's it out to straightaway center field. As Daniel Moreno is greeted by Nicholas McLean, who lined one straight into the center fielder's glove. Santoro didn't have to move much, Nick.
Yeah, pretty much on a line drive, and that's one of your outfielder you like to have, not having to move much to record that out. Allowed out number one recorded from Massapequa.
That ball hit hard. And that pitch misses down and away to Dean Scarangello. Comes the 1-0, and that misses for ball two.
And we talked about, Joe, going into this game, what the strategy for these teams would be in terms of pitching. Love finished with 21 pitches, so.
And that is ripped through the left side for a base hit. Coming up throwing is Walsh, and that ensures DeGata will have to stop at second. It's a base hit for Dean Scarangello, and South Shore now has two on with one out.
Dangerous spot early in this game, once again from Massapequa, already trailing by two. And now South Shore has two runners on, still just one out in the inning.
Joe Iracy, the batter. And that's hit well to center, but once again, Santoro right there waiting. Two gone.
Yeah, he has not had to move much so far in this inning. Once again, another line drive right towards him for the second out. So a chance for Moreno here, Joe, now with two outs in the inning to get that final out and keep it a two-run game.
That will bring up Peter Giacchio. And prompt the conference at the mound. Now, Nick, the chest protector for the catcher is making me think that South Shore is in the field for a moment when I see that, that royal blue chest protector.
Yeah.
Throws me off.
It's a common misconception.
That's the second time I've looked up and had to ask myself, did I miss something?
Well, you guys had a very confusing color scheme in the second game, maroon and maroon.
It's a good thing we were calling a baseball game.
Yeah, I heard our colleague Nick Durst was talking about soccer games. I was getting flashbacks of some of the soccer games that we've called because of jersey colors. Scarin Jail is going to be pinch run at first base. Try to see the number. I think it's Irachi now at first. It is.
Count 1-0. There's a big cut by Giacchio, who fouls it back.
You know, South Shore would love to get that runner from second who led off the inning with the leadoff walk, that being DeGata.
Comes the 1-1. There's a swing and a miss for strike 2.
Big swing and a miss on that one. Moreno got him right past with that fastball. Chance for a strikeout here to end the inning.
Those were 2 healthy cuts. That misses high. Slight breeze picking up here at Great Kills.
I don't think anyone here would complain with it.
Certainly not. And there's another healthy cut on a pitch fouled back.
And that's going to be a strategy, too, for the batters today, Joe. If it is indeed a game where we have a lot of relievers being thrown, if you can get some of these relievers up in pitch count and foul off a couple pitches and work some walks, then it might force these managers to maybe potentially leave out the pitcher or go to a new one earlier than they wanted to.
I think that's the key in this game, forcing your opponent to go to the bullpen sooner than they would like. I think that's the most efficient way to try and win this game. Good patient at bats. And this has certainly been an at bat of that variety.
This has been a battle right now.
It's been a good back and forth here between Giacchio and Moreno.
And it makes sense why he's a catcher. He has that good eye already as it is. Now it's worth the count full at 3-2.
Payoff pitch. Misses down and away for ball 4.
One of the better at-bats we have seen in this entire pool play. Giacchio works the 2-out walk. And Zach Weiss now comes up, Joe, with the bases-loaded opportunity.
South Shore has a chance here to put themselves in a position where they have that comfortable lead early, and we spoke about that during the pregame. And that would beg the question as to whether or not Massapequa Coast decides it's best to try and limit the number of arms we use and preserve for the weekend.
Going to have a pitch runner, by the way, for Peter Giacchio, the catcher, as he gets his equipment ready.
We know they certainly have the bats to erase that deficit quickly if the deficit does grow. So I'd be curious to see how they play it. I think what they'll certainly be looking to do is to get the third out right here without a run coming home. This is Zach Weiss, bases loaded, 2 outs, and he takes high for ball 1.
Nowhere to walk a batter in this spot for Moreno as well, Joe. He's now thrown 15 pitches since coming into this inning, so South Shore has definitely made him work.
That's hit in the air, foul territory, and into the seats.
That'll be a souvenir. Saw a souvenir yesterday in the streets from our home run derby, one of the foul balls.
There were quite a few souvenirs deposited into the parking spaces behind the shed in the outfield.
Probably one into the swimming pool as well behind us.
And that pitch is high off the backstop, but not far enough to try it. DeGata, the runner at third.
The wise spot for DeGata. I think a difference, between the backstops here at Great Kills and South Shore. Easier maybe to run on that one at South Shore here, not so much.
This backstop is much closer.
Did he hold up?
He did.
He did. So now it's quickly 3-1. Moreno is in danger of walking the run. Depending on how this at bat goes, Joe, he could be another pitching change coming.
And that's it on the ground, left side. Throw to first, perfect. Nicely done by Santo Pietro, and that will do it for South Shore.
That's why Country Awards and Trophy Center is ready to work with all of our clients to make your event a memorable one. with awards, trophies, and gifts that make a lasting impression. Come see why we love our customers and they love us. Visit us today.
And we're back from Great Kills Little League, where South Shore leads Massapequa Coast by a score of 2-0. And Nick, a big opportunity goes by the wayside for South Shore. Nice job by Daniel Moreno to work around some trouble and keep this game a 2-run ball game.
Yeah, Michael Santapietro recording that final out for Massapequa Coast on a ground ball to third, in which originally had bobbled it, so could have maybe went the short way had it not been bobbled, but had to make a strong throw to first, and he definitely made that strong throw to first base to record the final out. Moreno did throw 19 pitches in that inning coming out of relief, so we'll see who Massapequa Coast brings out for the next half inning. But you mentioned it, Moreno getting out of it unscathed and keeping this a 2-run game keeps his team alive as they try to go to 3-0.
I think Massapequa Coast would also be very pleased that he was able to get through the inning without them having to make another pitching change. Not that we're sure they would have had he surpassed 20 pitches, but he kept it under 20, not having to face another batter and throw a pitch that would put him in that rest day territory. You like to keep as many arms as possible available to you. So nicely done by Moreno, and now the bats for Massapequa Coast. We'll look to get them on the board for the first time. They send 8, 9, and 10 to the plate. Santoro, Scary, and Francesi.
You also think about that at bat as well, Joe. He was behind the count. He had a 3-ball count. Was in danger of walking in the third run.
First pitch of the third inning, swung on and missed for strike one. Santoro was 0 for 2 on Tuesday night. He swings and misses at a good off-speed pitch.
First pitch fastball, second pitch off speed for Scarangelo in this at bat. Let's see what he goes with here to try to potentially get a strikeout. Maybe look for something on a chase.
He went with a high fastball. And while we speculated that we might see a pitcher by committee approach, I'll finish that point after this pitch. And that gets by the catcher. But Giacchio once again completes the put out at first as Santoro goes down swinging. But my point was going to be, Nick, we anticipated we might see a pitcher by committee. It looks like that may be the case for Massapequa Coast. However, on the other side, it looks like South Shore may try and get as much as they can out of Scarangelo, maybe get through this game with 1 or 2 pitchers.
Yeah, right now he is at 23 pitches, and you look at what he's done so far. He's only allowed just 1 hit so far through 2 1/3 of innings pitched, so he's done a good job against this Massapequa Coast lineup.
And there's another good off-speed pitch. Ryan Scary, the batter, behind no balls and 1 strike.
Got a good strikeout to start the inning as well with that off-speed pitch in the dirt.
Scary was 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored on Tuesday. Count even here at 1 ball and 1 strike. And that's hit in the air. Shallow left center where the catch is made. And there are 2 away.
Yeah, it looked like he was just a little bit under on that one. So that one goes into shallow center field for the second out of the inning. So Scarangelo now, Joe, 1 out away from a 1-2-3 third.
And more importantly, Nick, an efficient 1-2-3 if he can get this out quickly. And that's definitely something to keep an eye on throughout the remainder of this game.
He's already thrown a 5-pitch inning so far in this game.
Once again, that ball ends up at the backstop.
If I'm not mistaken, he came into the inning with 21. He's at 27 now. But he might have come in with 19. He came in with 19, correction. So he's at 8. He's throwing 8 in the inning.
He'll take that, no question. And there's another good breaking ball.
And that's so far, Massapequa Coast has not been able to touch that breaking ball from Scarangelo.
There's a big swing and a miss as the count runs to 1-2.
And it's really tough when you have that and then you go right back to a fastball. You're waiting for the off speed and then he just throws a fastball right past you. And now it's 1-2.
This is Matthew Francesi at the plate. In case I forgot to mention that.
There's an off speed again, Joe.
He will go down looking. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Dean Scarangelo. He now has 4 punch-outs in the game, and his team has a 2-run lead heading to the home third.
comes to sports, why be good when you can be legendary? At Legend Sporting Goods in Brooklyn, we service the community with only the best custom apparel, embroidery, and service, specializing in youth sports, so that the leaders of today become the legends of tomorrow. We're proud to support all of this week's great athletes and invite everyone to check us out and make us a part of your team. Come see why Legend Sporting Goods is in a class by itself. Visit us online or call us now.
And we are back from Great Kills, where South Shore has a 2-run lead, moving ahead to the bottom half of the third inning. And Nick, Daniel Moreno heads back to the mound for Massapequa Coast, so we thought maybe they would make another pitching change and try and keep Moreno under 20 pitches, but perhaps they send him out for one batter and then make that change. We will see, but Moreno will face the number 12, 1, and 2 hitters for South Shore here in the third.
Yeah, currently he's at 19 pitches, Joe, so he will reach that threshold at some point in this inning. But on the other side of things, how about Dean Scarangelo so far in this one? He's only thrown 30 pitches through 3 innings for the South Shore team and has allowed just the 1 hit.
He's been fantastic, and that's exactly what South Shore was looking for out of him. I think once he crossed that 20-pitch threshold, you get the sense that they are going to lean on him for whatever they can the rest of the way in this game. And laying down a bunt attempt was Jason Rocchio, but that's fouled away.
No surprise there, Joe. We saw that bunt single on Tuesday. That was a pivotal part in that South Shore win over North Shore, helping them set up one of their insurance runs they needed.
And that's hit down the third base line. And
he's safe.
The ball came out of the glove, Nick, and they're going to say Love was off the bag. We'll get a second look at it on replay.
Go to the wide shot for that one.
Oh, beware the bunt when Rocchio is at the plate. Beware of the slow roller. And he gets on. And the other night, Nick, he laid down a bunt that, for all intents and purposes, was a sacrifice, as Vin Ruggiero wastes no time, grounding a base hit through the left side. And just like that, there were 2 on.
So here's the play at first base before. And that was the correct call, Joe. His foot did come off the bag.
Well done by the first base umpire. We try not to make it a thankless job, as that is fouled straight up into the overhang behind the plate.
Yeah, this is a dangerous hitter at the plate, we know, and Steven Grippo already has a 3-run homer in this tournament. You know, Joe, he would love to do some damage right here to increase the South Shore lead.
And that pitch misses away. Count even at 1. There's ball 2. Looks like they might be pitching Grippo a bit carefully here, Nick. But with 2 on, I'm not sure they can afford to do so. And Grippo rips one into right field, where they had him played perfectly.
That was a big out for Massapequa Coast right there, Joe. Huge difference of that being a 2-run double potentially, and they get the first out of the inning.
Scary in the right place at the right time, as that was a screamer off the bat of Grippo. And he is the first out of the inning for South Shore.
That's one of those, got to be on your toes.
Grounder, backhanded it short. And the throw to second is low. It gets away into right field. 1 run is in to score. Ruggiero is headed home, and he will score. It is a 2-run error on the infield. And with that, South Shore has doubled their lead.
Yeah, that's another thing that South Shore has been able to take advantage of, Joe, in this tournament. Some errors in the field, and that one proves costly for Massapequa Coast. Brings up 2 more South Shore runs, and they now have a 4-0 lead here in the third.
Well, that one hurts, Nick. But as we said before, we know they have the offensive firepower to get back in a game like this. Now, the climb gets a bit more difficult in a 4-run game, And a chance for more with Jake Romero coming to the plate.
And keep in mind, still just 1 out in the inning as well.
That's popped up on the infield. Love has it. And holding at third was Torres.
Big second out recorded right there from Massapequa Coast. They want to get back into this game, Joe. If you can keep it 4, we know this lineup is certainly capable of getting back into it with their offense.
Chase Currow at the plate, takes high. Well, now that you have 2 outs with the runner on third, you'd love to escape the inning, limiting the damage to just 2. And that should do it, as Walsh is there to make the catch in left field to retire the side. But not before a throwing error will cost Massapequa Coast a pair of unearned runs. We head to the bottom half of the inning, make that the top of the 4th. It's 4-0.
NYS Industrial is your all-in-one supply and tool store for commercial, industrial, and domestic industries. A leader in HVAC supply stores, K&S provides various building and maintenance supplies for office buildings, industrial plants, schools, homes, and more. We also specialize in getting our customers hard-to-find items. If you're looking for HVAC supply stores that also offer anything else you might need, look no further than K&S Industrial. If they make it, we'll get it. K&S Industrial.
Top of the 4th inning from Great Kills Little League about to get started. South Shore now leading by 4 as they went into that last half inning ahead 2-0. They put up a 2 spot as the result of 2 unearned runs. And Nick, how important is it for Massapequa Coast to get something going here in this 4th inning?
I think realistically, you look at it, Joe, you have 9 outs to play. If they can't get a run or 2 in this inning, it might be even tougher for them down the last stretches of this game to come back and win it.
Michael Santo-Pietro will get things started at the plate for the visitors. Behind him, 1-2. So 11-1-2 due up for Massapequa Coast. And Santo-Pietro would love to set the table for the top of that lineup. A lineup which, by our tally, was well into the 20s in hits through their first 2 games.
Yep. They had 19 in game 1. Game 2, they were out hit, but did have 6 in that one against EGC.
25. You will take that all day long.
So far, Scarangello has held them to the 1. As South Shore will get a pitcher warming up in their bullpen.
Win or lose, you'd hate to go into the semifinal off of a game where you're in the low single digits in hits. Right now, just 1 for Massapequa Coast, and that pitch misses low.
Pitcher warming up, Joe, is going to be Zach Weiss. He's up warming up for South Shore. See maybe if he potentially comes on in this inning at some point.
And the 2-0 misses badly, so Santo-Pietro, the number 11 hitter, is ahead 3-0.
And that would be a costly walk for South Shore. If they walk the number 11 hitter in the order, and it brings us back to the top of the lineup, that would be big for Massapequa Coast getting back into this game.
And that is not close as that skips in for ball 4. That's a good start to the 4th.
So we've already seen a leadoff walk, and for Massapequa Coast, they were able to get out of that jam without giving up a run. Now let's see if South Shore can get out of this situation. The leadoff walk, but now back to the top of the lineup, and it's Ryan Love coming up to the plate.
Love 0 for 1 with a strikeout.
The corner infielders move up a little bit, maybe expecting a bunt.
I'd be a bit surprised.
Time is called. I think one of the warm-up baseballs, and it was. Yeah, one of the warm-up baseballs for Weiss was thrown behind him. Ready to resume play.
Pitch on its way, and that is not close And when you begin to see misses like this, I think it gets concerning as a manager.
Yeah, but also give a good heads up to Giacchio behind the plate. Great scoop, keeping that runner at first.
He's really done a good job behind the dish this week, as that misses up and away for ball 2.
And I think it's definitely concerning now for South Shore. 6 straight balls to start off the inning.
And there's a called strike. I always say it, but you never like seeing an inning that was built off the back of base on balls when you're out in the field. And that is smoked into shallow center field for a base hit. Moving up to second is Santo Pietro, and Ryan Love has himself a single. Second hit of the game for Massapequa Coast.
Yeah, Massapequa Coast off to a good start in the inning, Joe. A 4-pitch walk to start. Love worked the count to 2-1. Gets a line drive right up the middle for that single, as that might lead to a pitching change, and it will.
Well, we knew they had the bats to get back in this thing, Nick, and now if you're South Shore, very quickly you are moving towards dangerous territory. While they change pitchers, we will step aside and take a break as they're trying to wave Weiss in from the bullpen.
He wanted to get 1 or 2 more in before coming on.
All right, he will head to the mound, and we will head to break. Our score, South Shore 4, Massapequa Coast nothing.
This tournament would not be possible without the great support of the Staten Island Advance. Not only does the Staten Island Advance have full coverage of the tournament, but we are committed to covering island youth sports year-round and all news close to home. Pick up the paper today and look for great subscriber deals now for our loyal readership. Visit us online at silive.com for news and photos of this week's tournament and all the breaking news on Staten Island, the nation, and the world. The news of Staten Island is the Staten Island Advance and silive.com.
And we are back from Great Kills, where the new pitcher is Zach Weiss. He will inherit 2 runners on and nobody out, with 2, 3, and 4 coming up for Massapequa Coast. You couldn't have scripted it much better if you're the visitors.
Yeah, tough part of this lineup coming up for Weiss. Charlie Pericelli, who we mentioned, Joe, had 2 home runs in that home run derby yesterday, is coming up to the plate with first and second. Still nobody out. And I mentioned going into this inning that Massapequa Coast realistically most likely would need a run or 2 if they wanted to get back into this game. They've got a great opportunity to get that and maybe even more.
Something we didn't touch on when we talked about how important this inning would be for Massapequa Coast, as that's in at the knees for a called strike, is that they had 11, 1, and 2 coming up in the inning. So very possibly this could have been the last turn at bat for those hitters at the top of the lineup. You just never know. The 0-1 almost hit him. We know Pericelli is a power threat. He bats here with runners on first and second, so nowhere to put him. Here comes the 1-1. That's fouled off the overhang and into the glove of Weiss.
Well, at least he made the play.
At a glance, you could have fooled me, but that ball didn't quite. Holds up on the high fastball. Count even at 2 now. And you'd really like to avoid running it full if you're Weiss. that misses inside.
In danger of loading the bases and bringing the tying run to the plate.
Big pitch coming up here. 3-2, 2 on, and nobody out. Joey Labella on deck, and Puricelli takes a called strike 3.
A huge out number 1 recorded right there for South Shore. And Weiss gets that low breaking ball that Massapequa Coast fans certainly were not happy with that decision. But
that is a big-time pitch. And that breaking ball misses high.
We already had talked about this week the importance of these catchers sometimes trying to frame some of these pitches if they look lower than per usual. Try to get strikes for their pitchers, and you could make the case that that one right there was one for South Shore. Giaccio's done a great job of that this week.
He sure has. The man at the plate, Joey Labella, the only Massapequa Coast hitter with multiple hits on Tuesday. And that's it at the knees. You know they'd love one more hit in this spot.
If Massapequa Coast, you also don't want to make my point in one moment.
That's chopped weakly, third baseline, foul ball.
What I was going to say is you don't want to blow this opportunity where you had the leadoff walk to start the inning and then the base hit. You had Ferns on first and second, nobody out. Now you're one strike away from having 2 outs in the inning with those runners still stranded.
And that's chopped on the ground to short. And the play goes to third. Nicely done by Torres as they get the lead runner for out number 2.
Yeah, it's a good heads-up play from Torres right there. Could have went to second to maybe potentially turn a double play, which would have been really tough overall. So he goes the quick way in his terms, goes to third base, gets the lead runner. And now 2 outs in the inning, Joe, and it's going to be up to Vitro, to bring home potentially a run from Massapequa Coast.
Vitro had the big game on Monday. Reached once in the game on Tuesday. That was on a fielder's choice. Officially was 0 for 3 in that game. He's ahead 1-0 here. That's chopped foul. This is a big moment in this game. Massapequa Coast had the first 2 batters on, nobody out, and a 3-ball count.
Weiss up to 14 pitches so far since coming in relief.
There's a swing and a miss. If Weiss can get out of this without allowing a run, that is some good job in relief. He's 1 strike away.
Yep.
And he got him looking. Vitro takes strike 3, and Massapequa Coast is denied in the 4th. We head to the home half of inning number 4. The lead for South Shore, still 4 runs.
K&S Industrial is your all-in-one supply and tool store for commercial, industrial, and domestic industries. A leader in HVAC supply stores, K&S provides various building and maintenance supplies for office buildings, industrial plants, schools, homes, and more. We also specialize in getting our customers hard-to-find items. If you're looking for HVAC supply stores that also offer anything else you might need, look no further than K&S Industrial. If they make it, we'll get it. K&S Industrial.
And we are back from Great Kills, where we have a pitching change on the side of Massapequa Coast. And I think that's Keen Rimler, Nick.
There it is.
And indeed it is. So the big power threat will get a chance to show off a power arm as he takes the mound in a 4-run game.
Well, look at the game you called today with Auburn and Harrison. We saw 2 big-time hitters pitch in that game, and we got a pitcher's gem in that one. So maybe that is going to be a common trend as well for this tournament. We'll see if Rimler can keep this a 4-run game.
And going back to that last half inning for just a moment, Zach Weiss comes out of the bullpen, inherits 2 runners on, the meat of the lineup for Massapequa Coast coming up. He gets out of it, and now South Shore in prime position to finish pool play 3-0 and secure the top seed on this side of the bracket.
Yeah, now it's just 6 outs away from being that lone 3-0 team after pool play is over, and a potential matchup with Auburn in the semifinals. So South Shore is closing in on that opportunity. They would like to get some insurance runs, though, here in this inning and maybe even the next inning to try to secure this one up.
Well, you get the sense that if Massapequa Coast allows any more, given what transpired last inning, it's going to be really tough for them to come back because getting the top of the order another chance is going to take some work. Due up in the next half inning, getting a bit ahead of myself, but 5-6-7 for Massapequa Coast. And if you're South Shore, a huge opportunity in this spot to pad your lead and perhaps put this game to bed a bit earlier.
Gator will be the leadoff batter.
Of course, be sure to stay tuned here on PDF as we have one more game following this one. EGC will be looking for their first victory in pool play, as will North Shore. That misses outside.
Gator able to work and walk his last time up. He's not able to come around and score.
That misses for ball 2. And it's 3-1.
We go to the next half inning. Weiss will, depending on if he comes back out, he'll have he threw 16 pitches in relief. South Shore, so good job by him.
That's fouled straight back to run the count full. Here comes the payoff pitch. And there's a swing and a miss for strike 3.
Yeah, it looked like he got him on that fastball, and it seemed as if DeGata was just a second tad behind on that one. So a huge strikeout for Rimler on a lengthy at-bat to record the first out.
Nicholas McLean will be the batter. He lined out to center his first time up. There were 2 rockets hit at Santoro in center during that second inning. Game would look very different right now if one of those got over his head.
How about also the play we saw in right field from Scary? Stephen Grippo had a chance of a 2-run double. Scary was in the right place at the right time on the line drive.
That is scouting and good shifting that prevented that extra base hit. Count 2-1 now on the South Shore left fielder. Though that could have changed with the pitching changes as players shuffle around. That's low for ball 3. And Rimler is working very quickly, Nick. We have another full count.
Yeah, he's working quickly, but South Shore's also making him work quickly. Another 3-2 count here for him.
And the 3-2 is hit pretty well to right field, but it is well foul. And almost barehanded on a fly. Very close. Count remains full, 3-2. And that's up and in for ball 4.
So another lengthy at bat for South Shore, but this time around they are able to work the walk and get a runner on first with 1 away in the inning.
South Shore has made nothing easy in this game. They've sent at least 5 batters to the plate in every inning.
Depending on how the inning goes, Joe, they have a chance potentially to get their lineup of 3 times in this game.
At the plate now, Dean Scarangello. He's behind 0-1. And now 0-2.
Showed bunt on his first pitch that he saw. Held back, and as you mentioned now, is behind the count 0-2.
And the 0-2 misses high. That's low. McLean dancing a long ways off of first. Did he make it into the frame, Nick?
I don't think he did.
He ventured pretty far. And that's a foul
souvenir.
ground.
Let's see if he did. That's a different clip. No.
Not quite. 2-2 the count. And that's over the batter's head, and the back pick is successful, but decisively McLean takes second. He did not hesitate as they threw behind him, and the throw to second not in time.
Once again, Joe, South Shore's base running has proved dividends in this tournament play. Another 3-2 count as well, though, in this upcoming at-bat.
Obviously, South Shore's had some big moments on the mound, some big moments at the plate. But what I've seen from them on the base paths thus far has really differentiated them in that regard.
Yeah, and you'll see right here, great testament to what they've done so far in the tournament with their base running. Now that walk by Rimler, it looks like will lead to maybe another pitching change. Rimler finished with 20 pitches.
Taking a look, I believe that is number 1, Matthew Francesi, who will take the mound. So with the pitching change, we'll step aside for a quick break. South Shore still leads it by 4, and they're threatening here in the 4th.
Awards and Trophy Center is proud to sponsor this week's New York State Little League Championship. Located at 1600 Highland Boulevard on Staten Island, we pride ourselves in not only building trophies, but building relationships as we service our community and treat you like family. Your event and its achievements deserve the best. That's why Country Awards and Trophy Center is ready to work with all of our clients to make your event a memorable one, with awards, trophies, and gifts that make a lasting impression. Come see why we love our customers and they love us. Visit us today.
And we are back from Great Kills Little League, where South Shore leads it 4-0 over Massapequa Coast, and they are threatening for more. 2 on in the inning, 1 out, and that has forced another Massapequa pitching change. Matthew Francesi, the new pitcher, as we mentioned before the break, and he will look to keep this a 4-run game.
Yeah, so he'll be moving from shortstop to the mound. Ryan Love, who was the original pitcher, went from second to short. I think Santo Pietro went from third to second. And I want to say Moreno now is back at third base.
So more defensive realignment for the visitors here. As they look to stay in this one, you get the sense that they can't afford to give up any runs here.
Yeah, I think for Massapequa Coast, it's really imperative that they keep this 4-0. Any more, another run or two in this inning for South Shore might be the end of this one for Massapequa Coast tonight.
As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, this game only impacting seeding. Both of these teams have already done enough to secure a spot in the semifinal. But don't underestimate the value of bragging rights, Nick.
Right. Yeah. I mean, consider what happened last season. Remember, South Shore lost to Massapequa Coast in that semifinal. So they want revenge from that tournament loss.
If they meet again after today, it would be in the championship game.
Yeah.
Not only would the winner of that potential matchup have a chance at a state championship, as that is in for a called strike 1. Joe Iracy at the plate, but the winner would get the chance to be the concluding shot of our PDF Sports Network intro. We can update that. It's been Massapequa Coast since last year.
They want to keep it going from last season as well.
Can they keep the run going? Count now 3-1. Francesi 1 pitch away from loading the bases. And that is smoked to center, and it gets by the glove of Santoro and rolls all the way toward the warning track. A throw comes into the plate, not nearly in time, and Joe Iracy is into second base standing with an RBI double.
Great effort at center field from Santoro right there, Joe. Just missed it under his diving glove, and it's now a 5-0 South Shore lead on that big hit from Irachi.
That will bring up Peter Giacchio. And he takes inside for ball 1. Giacchio, without an official at-bat, he walked his first time up. And a base hit here, Nick, could break this game wide open.
Yeah.
There's another big cut. He's had a few of those tonight.
Yeah, he's had some lengthy at-bats as well in this one. We saw it from the first time up as here's a second look at that RBI double, bringing home the 5th South Shore run.
And there's a swing and a miss as the count goes to 1-2. You'd like to get at least one here with 1 out and a runner on third. And that backstop is unforgiving. Very hard to advance from third to home.
Never easy to do so here, as we mentioned earlier. This Giaccio will get conversation down the third base line.
So Giaccio gets some instruction. He steps into the box with a 2-2 count, 2 in scoring position and 1 out. That's fouled off again.
We're going to make another lengthy at bat.
Get the sense, Nick, that if he connects on one of these, it's going to go a long way.
Yeah.
He is taking massive cuts.
That actually hit his bat, Joe.
Yep. That is a foul ball. A tough luck strike keeps the count even at 2. That's fouled away again.
Another lengthy at bat, as I mentioned.
Well, he's been nothing if not a tough out, Nick.
Yeah. Those are the players you'd love to have in your lineup.
He has been a pest at the plate tonight. And that's hit well to center, Nick. And gone. He got a hold of it. And you could just see that drawing closer and closer as he took some big cuts throughout the evening. And on that one, Peter Giaccio connects for a 3-run homer as the South Shore lead moves to 8-0.
Yeah, you called it, Joe. He took a good couple of cuts, kept fouling off some pitches, and was looking for that one pitch that would decide a big outcome in this game, and boy, did he get it. A 3-run shot into center just going off of that shed. It's now an 8-0 lead for South Shore.
And we got a pretty good look at that one, Nick. A job well done on your part, both operating the scoreboard and the second camera.
We're going to look at that in just a moment after this next pitch.
That will bring up Zach Weiss in an 8-run game as Peter Giaccio delivers the big blast to break this game wide open. And Nick, this game is very reminiscent of what we saw from this South Shore team last year. The long ball propelling them here in this spot, but we saw a lot of that last season.
Yeah, the South Shore team, we know from top to bottom, regardless of what roster they have from last season to this season, always produces some really good lengthy at-bats as well as getting some, clutch moments. And they got one right there from Giaccio's 3-run homer.
And that's hit toward us in right center field, and that gets all the way to the wall. Heading for second is Weiss. The throw on its way and not in time. It's a double for Zach Weiss, and South Shore keeps the line moving.
Well, we saw Weiss in that last inning, Joe, get South Shore out of the inning after coming in relief with first and second, nobody out. And now he gets an extra base hit there. And don't look now, Joe, but if South Shore gets a home run here, this game's over.
I said that before, Nick. They had a chance with runners on and a chance to perhaps get out of here a bit early. And you'd love to do that heading into the semifinal. Obviously, it gives you a great deal of confidence, but it saves some pitching. And given, and obviously nothing is given, but hypothetically in a situation that Massapequa Coast finds themselves in right now, given that you very well could lose this game, it wouldn't be the worst thing for you either.
Right.
It's demoralizing, of course, but you know how good you are. One loss doesn't define a season.
And that directly affects what happened last season with them. They lost to this same South Shore team, and they were able to come back and beat them in the semifinal.
That was their loss in pool play?
I believe it was.
I don't think it is, because it wouldn't be possible for them to play.
They weren't on the same side?
It wouldn't be possible to play each other in the semifinal.
Oh, EGC was their loss.
Yes.
EGC was the loss.
EGC was their loss.
All right.
Count here, 2 balls and 1 strike.
2-2, actually.
2-2 make it. And Jason Rocchio goes down swinging.
Yeah, it's always tough trying to remember the pool plays as well from last season and then going to this season. Some of them are definitely different from last season's pool. I thought maybe for some reason that they had played in pool play before they had played in the semis.
I think when it comes to picking out stats like that, the most important thing is to have a digital record of those stats. And that stuff is not easy to find online. We have the video, but there's no compilation of digital stats from last year. We have our scorecards. That's a lot of paper.
That's definitely a lot of paper.
That is a lot of paper. But I went back and watched all the games leading up to this year's event, not knowing if any of the teams would be back. We had a 50% return rate from last year with Massapequa Coast, South Shore, EGC, Penfield. And it looks like, in fact, we know that we will have 50% of those teams making it into the semifinal round.
You mentioned earlier this week that three of the four semifinalists from last season were in the same bracket, and that two of them would automatically, it seemed as if going into that Tuesday, we're going to be in the semifinal. That is indeed the case, with it being South Shore and Massapequa Coast.
John's on the case. If there are box scores of those games last year, that'd be great. As that is smoked into center by Vin Ruggiero, and that should score Weiss from second. It will. As Weiss stumbles into the plate, his teammates might give him a hard time on that one.
He did take a little bit of a tumble.
His teammates may give him a hard time, but he doubles and comes in on the Ruggiero base hit. It's now 9-0.
Big inning right here from South Shore, Joe. We're up 4 going into the inning. They're now attacked for 5 runs, and kind of similar to what happened with them against North Shore as well that we saw on Tuesday.
Last year, a lot of the games I have embedded in memory, especially the ones I called. The ones I called are easy. I did not call the pool play matchup between EGC and Massapequa Coast.
This looks like maybe another pitching change here. But we do remember, though, Joe, South Shore had, I think, 2 walk-off home run mercy rule wins in pool play, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
So
they had a walk-off grand slam in a game we called.
Yes. Yes, I think that one went over the shed.
They won all 3 games via mercy rule.
Yes. And Grippo, I mean, he's certainly capable of getting a home run. So
yeah,
he could end it with one swing right here.
That's very true. That is very true. We'll stay right here through a potential pitching change, though it looks like Francesi might be staying in.
No, I think I think they are bringing in Chase Vitro to be the new pitcher.
It looks like they were discussing who would be next to pitch. Perhaps Vitro, the first to volunteer. It didn't look like they had definitively selected the next pitcher, but it appears Vitro is going to take the baseball.
Francesi had 26 pitches up in this at bat, and he is going to be taken out. It's going to be Vitro.
And you know, John, we do use Game Changer as well. We could actually go back and score those games relatively quickly, just scrubbing through. It's only 6 innings. We could do that without much of a problem.
Right.
The difference is the player names, but if you just put in numbers, that is very doable. That's why you need a producer. The producer should be doing that.
Yeah.
And they should present me with an iPad that has all of the games from last year scored for me before each broadcast. So Chase Vitro is the new pitcher, and Nick, obviously nothing set in stone yet. South Shore with a chance to make it official with a base hit in this spot, but let's look ahead to those potential semifinal matchups. Obviously the winner of this game gets Auburn, and right now it appears that would be South Shore. What are your expectations for a potential matchup between those two sides?
I mean, you have to look at what those two teams are going to bring to the table, and we saw a great pitching performance today from Auburn. They've had pretty good pitching all around this entire tournament, and from what we've also seen from South Shore's pitching, Joe, we could be in for a potential pitcher's duel again tomorrow, depending on who those two teams start. But as we all both know, they also have the capability of making it a very high-scoring game. Their lineups, top to bottom, are also very high and productive. So that game can realistically go either way, being a pitcher's duel or being a very high-scoring game.
And taking a look at the games that Auburn has played thus far, late in that game against Penfield, after they got ahead 9-0, it was a very shaky last 4 innings for them. Penfield had a lot of traffic on the base paths, and they were threatening multiple times.
Yeah.
In the second game against Plattsburgh, Auburn, against a team that really struggled offensively over the course of pool play, allowed the 3 runs and very nearly lost that game. So I think we need to find out, is Auburn's pitching closer to what we saw today or closer to what we saw in those first two games? I think the answer to that question dictates quite a bit what a matchup with South Shore would look like. Have they been holding back any arms that we could expect to see in a game like that? And I think we've seen, obviously, Vin Ruggiero. We haven't seen Stephen Grippo pitch yet, but according to our live chat, we should expect to see that at some point. So it depends on what pitching those two teams have withheld.
And sometimes you have to hold some of these pitchers off because you're trying to save them for the final stages of the tournament.
And that's hit sharply toward the middle for another South Shore base hit. Ruggiero coasts into second, and Grippo is on with a base hit.
And I believe that's now the 10th hit of this game for South Shore. And remember what happened in the first game of their tournament, Joe. They were struggling offensively in that game against EGC, just the one run going into that sixth inning. But it seems as if ever since that sixth inning has happened, their offense has just been clicking, especially from coming off that last game against North Shore, and now especially here tonight against Massapequa.
And Nick, if it's not for that game and them coming back, they could very well have found themselves on the outside looking in, even with a win in this game. Probably not a win this big, however.
Same could be said for Massapequa, though, too.
If Massapequa allowed 9 runs.
Yeah, and they lost that game on Tuesday.
If so many hypotheticals on this side, it's really interesting to think about what could have been. But if you take a look back, Massapequa Coast, let's assume they do escape with that win against EGC, which they did. And obviously they took care of business against North Shore. But tonight, if EGC had beaten South Shore and South Shore put up 9 runs in a shutout against Massapequa Coast could have been on the outside looking in. You just never know what could have been, as that's popped up on the infield and the side is retired. So South Shore will need at least one more inning to try and close out this one, but Massapequa Coast hopes to have something to say about that. However, they trail 9-0 as they get set to come to bat in the road 5th inning.
When it comes to sports, why be good when you can be legendary? At Legend Sporting Goods in Brooklyn, we service the community with only the best custom apparel, embroidery, and service, specializing in youth sports, so that the leaders of today become the legends of tomorrow. We're proud to support all of this week's great athletes and invite everyone to check us out and make us a part of your team. Come see why Legend Sporting Goods is in a class by itself. Visit us online or call us now.
And we are back from Great Kills Little League, where Massapequa Coast trails 9-0. On the side of the visitors, they will send 5, 6, and 7 to the plate. And that is swung on and missed for strike 1. Now, Nick, I'm not sure I could be favoring South Shore when I just picked Massapequa Coast to win the championship earlier today.
You did pick them earlier, so.
I was asked, and I didn't want to be dodgy. I hate that. I was asked in the live chat who I thought, and I said, thus far, I've seen nothing that would lead me to believe that the champs shouldn't repeat. But apparently, we're favoring South Shore. So if we came off that way, we apologize.
There is no favoritism here.
There is no favoritism. Though I will admit, Nick and I, on the air, said as local Staten Islanders, obviously.
And Nick not being me. Because that was not me.
As native Staten Islanders, our horse in the race is South Shore, obviously. And that is off the shin of Weiss.
Now it's going to sting.
Yeah. He's going to have to try and walk that one off. Hopefully it caught more shoe than shin. See if they have to check on him, and they will. Unsurprising there. And they are going to need a pitching change. As you can see on the mound, Nick, some of the South Shore players are signaling to the bullpen.
I think it hit the top of his cleat, Joe. If you see right here, Joe, it looks like it hit the top of his cleat. So maybe that's where it hit him on that line drive.
That one definitely stung, and better to be cautious at this point in a 9-run game. So with the pitching change, we'll step aside for 30 seconds to take a break, and we will be right back with Massapequa Coast trailing 9-0 and a runner on to open up the 5th.
NYS Industrial is your all-in-one supply and tool store for commercial, industrial, and domestic industries. A leader in HVAC supply stores, K&S provides various building and maintenance supplies for office buildings, industrial plants, schools, homes, and more. We also specialize in getting our customers hard-to-find items. If you're looking for HVAC supply stores that also offer anything else you might need, look no further than K&S Industrial. If they make it, we'll get it. K&S Industrial.
And we're back from Great Kills, where the pitching change for South Shore is going to see a lefty take the mound for the first time tonight. That's Chase Currow.
And now, Joe, obviously the concern for South Shore is hopefully Zach Weiss is okay and can potentially play in tomorrow's game as well as Saturday if they are to get to the championship game. So they'll have to monitor that status in the next couple of hours. Be curious to see if South Shore does get up to his part in the lineup, if he does bat.
We will see. The batter will be Keen Rimler. Jackson Walsh picked up that infield hit off the cleat of Weiss, who immediately left the game. The warm-up tosses continue for Currow.
Now, remember also, Joe, we also do not know which matchups take place at the beginning of the day and the second game. So that also maybe, I don't know if you have it on you, but that could maybe be a factor for the game tomorrow. Thankfully for these two teams, they're playing the 5 o'clock game. It would be a lot more different if they were playing in the 8 o'clock game and they had a quick turnaround tomorrow for 10 a.m.
Yeah, there's no indication which semifinal game would be first. I have a feeling that the live chat will give us that answer in short order, though there might be a coin flip for that as well. You never really know. Obviously, home and away determined in that manner. So as soon as we have that information, we'll let you know if we have it by the end of the night. And the matchups will be set after this game, so I get the feeling that we will know tonight what the schedule looks like tomorrow.
I'm sure we'll be able to preview that during our second game of the evening.
The action resumes with Keen Rimler, the batter. And that's chopped foul. Well, Rimler already has 2 home runs in this tournament, Nick.
The way he swung on that first one, he wanted another one.
We came into the complex, and blaring off of an iPhone, we heard one of the home run calls from Rimler and one of his 2 home runs earlier in the week.
I believe that was the one he had against EGC.
And Rimler will go down on 3 pitches here for out number 1.
I think for Massapequa Coast, you're obviously trailing this game 9-0, but you have a quick turnaround tomorrow, depending on what game you're playing in. But if you can get some confidence getting maybe a couple of runs before this game ends, that would still go a long way going into tomorrow's matchup.
That's chopped straight into the backstop.
So if you didn't see, Joe, whoever wins this game is going to play first tomorrow. So South Shore would play Auburn if this score holds.
All right. And that is lined down the right field line. Fair ball. And that rolls all the way into the corner. Walsh heads for third, and into second base standing is Daniel Moreno. Massapequa Coast with 2 in scoring position now, and just 1 out here in the 5th.
Well, I believe, Joe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the first extra base hit that Massapequa Coast has gotten in this game.
That is correct.
And Moreno with just getting that one down the first base line. Didn't look like originally that was going to stay fair. And he gets himself a double, and now for the first time today, Massapequa Coast will have second and third. Still just 1 out in the inning.
And that breaking ball is swung on and missed. And that's grounded to third. The runner is looked back toward the bag. And the throw a bit low, handled by Grippo. So Chase Santoro is retired, and both runners are forced to hold.
Second look at that double down the right field line from Moreno. Putting 2 runners in scoring position, but that last ground ball, that makes it 2 outs of the inning.
Two out, 2 in scoring position, and Ryan Scarry is the batter. That ball is down low for ball 1.
And Joe, you hate to harp on it, but going back to that inning where Massapequa Coast had the bases loaded, and they were not able to bring home a run. Right now, proving to be a huge factor into this game. Correction, I actually should say they had first and second, nobody out. That's when Zach Weiss came in, and they were not able to bring any in.
And there's a swing and a miss. Count 1 ball and 2 strikes on Scarry. And that's on the inside corner for a called strike 3. So Massapequa Coast mounted their biggest threat of the game, but they strand 2 in scoring position. And South Shore will come to bat with a chance to win it, leading 9-0.
Awards and Trophy Center is proud to sponsor this week's New York State Little League Championship. Located at 1600 Highland Boulevard on Staten Island, we pride ourselves in not only building trophies, but building relationships, as we service our community and treat you like family. Your event and its achievements deserve the best. That's why Country Awards and Trophy Center is ready to work with all of our clients to make your event a memorable one, with awards, trophies, and gifts that make a lasting impression. Come see why we love our customers and they love us. Visit us today.
And we're back from Great Kills Little League, where South Shore comes to the plate leading by 9. Chase Vitro back to the mound for South Shore. And he will face 4, 5, and 6 in the South Shore lineup.
Already a 9-0 lead for South Shore, as you mentioned, Joe. 1 run in this inning will give them the walk-off mercy rule win. Give them that 3-0 record.
That pitch misses outside. And that breaking ball is a called strike off the catcher's glove. Romero at the plate 0 for 2. At the top of the lineup, Vin Ruggiero had himself a 3 for 3 game. That pitch misses low.
Now, Joe, we mentioned that a potential matchup between South Shore and Auburn. How about on the other side of things? What does Massapequa Coast have to look forward to tomorrow in a potential matchup with Harrison?
Well, I think we saw, in part, what we expected earlier when this game began. Massapequa Coast trying to keep the pitch count down for the arms that they sent into this game, and they accomplished that. And I think that's the most important thing heading into the semifinal and the final. We said it during the pregame. Of course, you'd love to win this game, but the most important thing is to put yourself in the best position possible to win a state championship. Now, on the other side of that coin, if you had a matchup preference, that, of course, could play a factor, as that's hit into the glove of Santoro. He's had a busy day in center field, but has made no mistakes out there. And there are quickly 2 away But if you're Massapequa Coast, we know they have the offensive firepower to get it done. And we've seen them play very fundamentally sound defense in the games of theirs that we've covered. And those two things are very, very important when it comes down to those win or go home games. The teams that don't make those mistakes in the field and that are consistent at the plate are the teams that often come out on top. Chase Currow at the plate, officially 0 for 1. Walking
Dylan DeGata.
Dylan DeGata, that's right. That's right. DeGata, similarly, 0 for 1 with a walk. Count 3-1 now. And that's hit well to the opposite field, but once again, the defense played perfectly. And that'll do it for South Shore as they go down 1-2-3 here in the 5th. Last chance for Massapequa Coast, trailing 9-0.
Comes to sports.
That's blooped into shallow right and down for a base hit. And Michael Santopietro has reached base twice via a walk and now a one-out single.
And they'll bring it now back to the top of the lineup from Massapequa Coast. As Ryan Love now is up to the plate. He already has a single in this game.
So Massapequa Coast gives the top of the lineup one more chance. And that gets away to the backstop, but Santopietro wisely does not chance it. Lefty delivers, and Currow's pitch misses high.
One of those rare lefty-lefty matches we've had. We've seen it a couple times in this tournament, but to see one right here.
My thought exactly, Nick. You don't see this too often. And that gets away as that pitch knocked Love down. At the plate, Love 1 for 2, struck out in the first, singled in the fourth. Pitch is high for ball 4. How about that bat flip?
Yeah.
How about that bat flip?
Like I said, it's all about getting confidence at this rate, Joe. If you're able to pull off this, it would be an incredible comeback, or just for tomorrow's game at least. You need to get some confidence going into that no matter what.
I think a team that's been here before and won this before won't be shaken by a game like this. That's being said, the roster turnover obviously means that different players are out there, as that's blooped on the infield and caught. Nearly a double play turned at second, but instead the ball trickles away into shallow right field. So,
and now that throw is over the head of the pitcher, so that's going to allow the runner Love to go from first to second.
Well, I'm very glad we're not scoring that play digitally.
There's a lot
that's a really tough read to make as an infielder, because it looked like there's a chance the ball was trapped. It was really hard to tell from our angle.
I couldn't tell either.
And you're really in no man's land there as a base runner, so that's a tough spot to be in. A double play would have ended the game, as the throw to second got away into right field. That allowed the runner on second, Santo Pietro, to advance to third after he touched second again. And then over at first, Love moved up to second. So I'm working on scoring this one.
Good luck.
Just a P6 with a couple of advances on a throwing error.
Regardless, though, South Shore now 1 out away from getting this victory. And for the second straight season, being 3-0 in pool play. And that matchup tomorrow with Auburn.
Well, the umpires are going to talk it over. And for those discussing it, the Home Run Derby is a must-watch, at least the final round. I would say the final 2 rounds. There's a lot of hitters that come up in the opening round.
Yeah.
Certainly watch the final 2 rounds. No question. So the final and then the swing-off between the tied finalists. Definitely worth a watch.
The 2 tied finalists from Harrison. I believe one of the balls that I retrieved from the parking lot was from one of those Harrison hitters. I think it was. It was one of the foul balls.
Well, I can't imagine any other way that a foul ball would get beyond the fence behind the shed.
I mean, well, as I say, the way they were hitting yesterday, I think it was realistically possible. I think we're going to have a pitching change, Joe, with 1 out to go. And we indeed are.
I think that's Dylan DeGata, who just received the baseball. So new pitcher.
He was out in right field.
A new pitcher for South Shore. And as he gets warm, we'll step aside for a 30-second break. Massapequa Coast with 2 in scoring position, 2 outs here down to their final out.
NYS Industrial is your all-in-one supply and tool store for commercial, industrial, and domestic industries. A leader in HVAC supply stores, K&S provides various building and maintenance supplies for office buildings, industrial plants, schools, homes, and more. We also specialize in getting our customers hard-to-find items. If you're looking for HVAC supply stores that also offer anything else you might need, look no further than K&S Industrial. If they make it, we'll get it. K&S Industrial.
And we are back from Great Kills Little League, where for the first time today, Nick, the sun begins to shine.
Yeah, it's shining bright, all right.
Yeah, we haven't seen sunlight like this since
last year, I think.
Well, that would be for the best if it were shining straight in our faces like it is right now.
I mean, as long as I don't get sunburned like last year, we're okay.
Yeah, you got a wicked burn last year. That was painful to look at.
Yep.
But we are well covered this year as we broadcast from straightaway center. Massapequa Coast down to their final out, looking to chip away at this South Shore lead. Dylan DeGata, the new pitcher for South Shore, and he will face Joey LaBella.
Yeah, last year's tournament didn't really treat me well in terms of some of the circumstances. Not that the tournament wasn't good, but the sunburn and then the issue I had getting to South Shore for pool play on day 2. Yeah, it was a long week for me, but a fun one here, at least at the complexes.
And Nick, I think we're going to have another pitching change.
Okay.
So a 2-0 count prompts another pitching change and another 30-second break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
And we're back from Great Kills, where Nicholas McLean is the new pitcher. And he will look to get the final out of the game. He faces Joey LaBella, and a rare circumstance here where the pitcher inherits a 2-0 count.
Usually Dylan DeGata threw 2 pitches and then was taken out of the game.
That misses down and away for ball 3. So one more miss, and the bases are loaded. Behind LaBella, 4, 5, and 6. And he takes a strike. And that skips in for ball 4. So Massapequa Coast has loaded the bases with 2 outs here in the 6th.
Well, don't count them out just yet. Still bases loaded, 2 outs. Chase Vitro now comes up, so they have the cleanup batter up in the spot.
He's certainly a candidate for a memorable moment, Nick. Ooh. He took a cut.
Didn't miss it by much.
That pitch ran in on him. He looked to turn on it. Instead, sliced it foul. Vitro 1 for 2 at the plate in this game, and he fouls off another.
South Shore now 1 strike away from getting that shutout and getting the win.
And that's hit the other way, straight into the glove of Grippo. So South Shore will complete pool play 3-0, and they will play in the early game tomorrow as they await a matchup with Auburn Little League. As for Massapequa Coast, they finish pool play 2-1, and they will face Harrison Little League tomorrow at 1 p.m.
Yeah, and South Shore, a great win for them here today. And I mentioned to Joe, a really slow start that they had to this pool play, losing that first game. Or I shouldn't say losing the first game, but a slow start against EGC. They were able to pick it up in the 6th inning and win that game. But since that game has happened, their offense has really clicked. A big showing against North Shore on Tuesday. Now a great showing again here today. Great kills against Massapequa Coast. And now they go into that first matchup tomorrow with Auburn. They'll be playing in the 10 o'clock game. And for Massapequa Coast, they now shift over to face Harrison in the 1 o'clock game. So a lot of time for both of these teams to bounce back from this game. For Massapequa Coast, obviously, they'll want to bounce back and get that win. But as what we saw last season from this team, they were also 2-1 going in to the semifinals and were able to win the whole thing. So they'll look to do it once again this season and repeat as champs.
Well, one thing that I recall from last year is that we had 2 great semifinal matchups, and I think that's going to be the case again this year. So we look very much forward to those games tomorrow. Both of these teams will be heavily featured here on PDF, right back at Great Kills bright and early tomorrow morning. However, we are not done from Great Kills. One more game left in pool play as 2 different teams will be looking for their first victory. East Greenbush Castleton takes on North Shore Little League. Coming up next, be sure to tune in for that right here on the PDF Sports Network.